Hello, students. Today we are going to start chapter 2 From Traders to Rulers. This chapter is of history. After the Aurangzeb death in 1707, the Mughal Empire gradually declined. Regional powers emerged, and in the mid 18th century, Mughal rule continued to exist only around Delhi. So at this time, the English East India Company emerged as the chief contender, means the competitor for the political supremacy in India. So the East India Company wanted only facilities to carry out trade profitably in India. But its agents saw India that it was impossible to have these facilities without a prince friendly to them. So he had to be given military protection to remain on the throne, and this could not be given without some control over him. So we will study about this in this chapter how this East India Company came about. So the English East India Company in 1600, Queen Elizabeth I granted the East India Company the monopoly to trade. Monopoly is when there is a single seller. When a single seller is there of a product, no other company makes such products, so that company is having monopoly over the market. Only single seller is there of that product. Through a charter means a royal order, a written grant. This meant that no other trading company or group in England could compete with East India Company. So with the help of this written grant, this charter, the company could venture, they can open their more companies, their ventures across the seas in other countries, looking for the new lands from where they can buy the goods at very cheap cost, cheap price. They can carry those goods which they are means buying at cheap price back to Europe and sell them at higher prices. This is the image of Queen Elizabeth I. But other European natives had already entered India, and the royal charter, means the written grant, had no power against them. The Portuguese, they have already reached India in 1498, even before Babur came here, much before the East India Company granted a charter. So Portuguese, they established their settlements in Goa and Daman and Diu. The Portuguese were able to control the seas because they were having a navigation skills. They know all the routes. They were having good navigation skills, so they were controlling the sea routes. But they were ousted. Ousted means they were forced to leave their position because of the competition from the Dutch and British. They were ousted means force someone to leave from their possession because of competition from Dutch and British. The Dutch had established their trading centers in Surat, Bhuj, Nagapatnam, Chinsura in Bengal. These are the places where Dutch established their trading centers. But they were more interested in Spice Islands. Dutch were more interested in Spice Islands where the spices are being found. When they did an agreement with the British, they gave up all the claims on India to concentrate onto the Spice Islands. So soon the French traders arrived on the scene. They established their trade settlements near Pondicherry, Mahe, Chandernagore, and Karikal. So Duplessis, the major governor general at Pondicherry, he played a very important role in expansion of the French power in India. This is the Dutch settlement in India. So during 17th and 18th century, there was stiff competition because everybody wants to control the sea route, the marine trade, the sea trade. So the rulers of the country, they were framing the economic policies to protect this overseas trade for their interest. They want to protect themselves from any foreign competitions. So this policy was called mercantilism. What is mercantilism? The rulers of the countries framed economic policies to protect themselves from overseas trade, from foreign competition. So this policy was called mercantilism. The English allowed goods to be imported into England only in English ships. So English means Britishers, they were importing the ships to the England. Those goods were going in English ships only. Only those English ships were entering. So they were regulating the trade like this. Mercantilism led to intense rivalry. Rivalry means the competition, the fight among the countries. It resulted in wars on lands and seas. In the 17th century, England, Holland, and France, they were the trade rivalries. They were fighting with each other in Europe. In India, they competed with the Portuguese. The English finally emerged victorious due to their supremacy at sea. They were supreme, they were controlling the sea routes, so they were victorious, the English finally in India. The reason for the rivalry, the fight, was that all the companies want to buy the same commodities, the same product they want to buy. The cotton, the silk, which are produced in India, they were having big market in Europe. Spices such as pepper, cloves, cardamoms, cinnamon, they were in great demand. The trading companies could flourish only by reducing the competition. So this urge means a desire to do something. This led to fierce battle, dangerous battle between the trading companies. 17th and 18th century, the sank each other's ships, means what they were doing, each other country, they were sanking each other's ship, they were blocking the sea routes, they were preventing the rivalry ship, the other country ship, to move the goods with the supplies. They were blocking the ways, they were preventing the rivalry ship from moving with the supplies. So trade was now carried on with arms and trading ports. They were fortified. Fortified means a defense wall was being built to protect themselves from any kind of attack. So, this effort to carry on trade with arms gave a rise to conflict with the local rulers. They got a conflict fight with the local rulers also. The companies found it very difficult to separate the trade from local politics. So, let us see how the problem is finally resolved. English trade settlements in India. The first English factory in Bengal was established near Hooghly River in 1651 with the permission of Sultan Sahuja, then the Subedar of Bengal. Soon after English factories, they sprang up at Kasam Bazar, Patna, and other places at the Bengal. These English settlements were called factories. The settlements were called factories. Not because they were manufacturing the goods, but their officials were called factors. Okay? Not because they were manufacturing the goods, but their officials were called factors. So these factories consisted of the offices, warehouses, and they were indulgent trade. Other locations also they were having in India. They were trading, doing the international trade in spices, cotton, sugar, raw silk, calico. Calico is a plain woven textile which is made from unbleached, which is not finally processed now, not fully processed now, and indigo. So in 1662, the company got the island of Bombay from the King Charles II. Soon they were starting establishing their factories at Ahmedabad, Agra, Masulipatam, Dhaka, and Balasore. In 1698, they acquired the zamindari of three villages, Sutanati, Kalikata, and Govindpur. The villages turned into city. These three villages they turned into city, and the city name was Calcutta. The company fortified settlements at Bombay, Madras, Calcutta. Fortify means to strengthen a place against any kind of attack, to build a defensive wall. So they were fortifying at Bombay, Madras, and Calcutta. The objective behind this was the safety, the security, and to maintain their monopoly. Monopoly when single seller is there. They used the force against the Indian rulers, their foreign rivals. Indian export were increasing. Therefore, the Indian rulers encouraged that East Indian companies' factories should establish in India. The company now it become greedy. It start dreaming about establishing the political power in India because this would enable them to compel the Mughals to allow them the free trade, the free hand trade. They don't have to pay any tax. So Indians they have to sell their products at cheap rates to them. So rival European trade them out at cheap rates. These goods were going to Europe. Political power would one time only also make it possible to appropriate the Indian revenues because by export India will earn revenue and to control the country with its own resources. So, political power will make to conquer the country with its own resources, and it is possible for the Indian revenues also. They were thinking this. In 1686, hostilities means act of warfare between English and the Mughal Empire broke out. After the former had sacked the Hooghly, they were sacked at the Hooghly River and declared the war against the emperor. The Mughal Empire, it was under the Aurangzeb, okay, much more than match of a petty forces of the East India Company. The war ended disastrously, means damage, a great damage was there. They were deprived of their factories in Bengal, their factories at Surat, Masulipatam, they were seized, their forts at Bombay were besieged. Besieged means it was taken. Besides means they were taking the surrounded by the armed forces, aiming them to surrender by force. Okay, having discovered that they were still not strong enough to fight the Mughal Empire or Mughal power, they expressed their willingness to trade under the protection of the Indian rulers. So Britishers, they know they cannot win from them, so they said that under Indian rulers' protection, we want to trade with Indians. The Mughal authorities, they pardoned the English folly as they recognized the foreign trade is benefited to their Indian artisans and merchants. It was benefited, so the Mughals agreed. Okay, it is good for Indian artisans, merchants, and state treasury also. Aurangzeb said that okay, you can trade, but you have to make a payment as a compensation of rupees 1,50,000. In 1717, the company secured from Emperor Farrukh Siyar a farman, farman means a loyal order, confirming the privileges granted in 1691 and extending them to Gujarat and the Deccan. The farman, the royal order, granted the company that they are free to export and import their goods in Bengal. They don't have to pay any kind of duty or any kind of tax. This also gave the right to issue passes or destas. This tax is the passes only for the movement of such goods. But during the first half of the 18th century, Bengal was ruled by the Nawabs. Okay, the Nawab name was Murshid Quli Khan and Alivardi Khan. They exercised strict control over the English trades. They were prevented that they should not misuse their privileges, neither they allowing them to strengthen their fortifications, to build a defensive walls at Calcutta, or to rule the city independently. So East India Company, they were the zamindars of the Nawab. Bengal was the richest. Now we are doing the British conquest over Bengal. So it was the richest and the fertile of India province. Industries, commerce, they were well developed. East India Company, they were very profitable, trading interest in the province. The farmen, the royal order, granted the company the freedom that they can export and import in Bengal without the payment of any tax. So the government servants, they were permitted to trade, but were not covered by this royal order, this farmen. They were required to pay the taxes as Indian merchants. If they are Indian merchants, they have to pay tax. But if they are the Britishers, they don't have to pay tax. So this royal order was regular conflict between the company and the Nawabs of the Bengal. This made a dispute, a fight between Nawabs and the company. So matters came head when the young and rash Siraj ud Dawla became the Nawab in 1756. Siraj ud Dawla became the Nawab in 1756. He demanded that the English trade should be on the basis earlier it was done at the time of Murshid Quli Khan. So the English refused to compile as they felt strong after they have victory over the French in South India. Instead of agreeing to pay taxes on their goods, they levied heavy duties on Indian goods which are entering in Calcutta, which was under their control. All the companies were hostile to them and were favoring his rivals for the throne of Bengal. They want the power in the Bengal. So a breaking point came when without the Nawab permission, the company began to fortify Calcutta. Okay, they started building defensive walls in Calcutta in expectation that coming struggle with the French stationed at Chandernagore. Siraj-ud-Daulah ordered both the English and the French that you should demolish your fortifications, whatever the defensive walls you have built, please break it down and do not fight with each other. While the French company obeyed his order, okay, we will break down this wall. The English company refused, that we will not do. It was determined to remain in Bengal as against the wishes of the Nawab. The company wants to remain in Bengal and they want to trade in their own terms. It was direct challenge to Nawab's sovereignty. Sovereignty, you understand, their power, their ultimate power. They were challenging the Nawabs. Now the Battle of Palissy. First, I want to tell you that Palissy is the pronunciation of Palashi. The place derived its name from a palash tree. It in this tree, beautiful red flower is grown or it blooms, with yield gulal. Gulal, you know, na, on the festival of Holi, we put on the each other's face. So there is a big forest of palash tree close to the area where this Battle of Palissy was fought in 1757. Acting with undue haste and inadequate preparation, Siraj ud Dawla seized the English factory at Qasim Bazar. He seized the factory at Qasim Bazar, marched to Calcutta, occupied the Fort William on 20th June 1756. From Madras, a strong rival and military force came under Admiral Watson and Colonel Cleve. So Cleve reconquered Calcutta in 1757 and he compelled the Nawab to concede all the demands of the English, that agree all the demands of the English. The English, they were not satisfied. They had to decide to place Mir Jafar on the throne of Bengal. They want Mir Jafar to be there on the throne of Bengal. So they presented the young Nawab with an impossible set of demands which cannot be fulfilled. Both sides realized that the war was inevitable. The two met at the field of Palissy battle on 23rd June 1757. In the battle that followed, only a small force of the Nawab participated. Mir Jafar, he took no participation in the fight. The Nawab, he ran away, he fled away, but he was chased and put to death. And now the new Nawab is Mir Jafar. The British got the undisputed right over the trade, that they can trade without taxes. They paid a huge sum as a compensation to them. He had paid huge sum as war compensation to Britishers. The East India Company, they collected 30 million rupees from the Nawab and the Bengal treasury as a compensation and a gift. It also received zamindari of the 24 parangans, 24 places near Calcutta. The battle paved the way of the English conquest the Bengal, and eventually, like Bengal they have conquered, they want to took the control of all over the India. It transformed a trading company to a political power. Now this trading company was a major contender for the Indian Empire. The rich revenues of Bengal enabled them to organize a strong army and meet at the cost of conquest to the whole country, rest of the country. The company don't only want to trade with India, but want to control the Nawab of Bengal, want to drain their wealth. Mir Jafar realized that it is impossible to fulfill their increasing demands day by day of the company and its officials. So on their part, they began to criticize the Nawab that Nawab, you are incapable. You are incapacity to fulfill our expectations. So in October 1760, they forced him to abdicate, means to give this throne to his son-in-law Mir Kazim. East India Company forced him. When Mir Kazim rewarded his beneficiaries by granting company the zamindari of Budwan, Midnapur and Chittagong. So these three places were granted the beneficiary as a reward to Mir Kazim. He rewarded these things by giving a handsome presents to them. Mir Kazim was a threat to the company because he was very much able, efficient and a strong ruler. He realized that full treasury and efficient army is essential to maintain his independence. So all this was not liked by English. Britishers were not liking it. They disliked the Nawab attempts to check the misuse of the Farman, the royal order of 1717. by the company servants. They were demanding the free import and export. This offended the Indian merchants because the Indian merchants they have to pay tax and foreigners they don't have to pay tax. Mir Kazim took a bold step. He abolished all the taxes on internal trade. Now Indians they don't have to pay any tax. Now Indian merchants were enjoying the concession which English were enjoying till now. So the East India Company could not tolerate this at all. This was about the Battle of Plassey. Now the next, this is the Lord Clive meeting Mir Jafar after the Battle of Plassey. Now Battle of Buxar. After the Battle of Plassey, there was a battle of between Mir Kazim and his allies, means the Nawab of Oudh, Shuja ud Daula and Shah Alam II on one side and the Britishers were on the other side. Okay, Mir Kazim and his allies were the Nawab of Oudh, Shuja ud Daula and Shah Alam II were on one side and the Britishers on the other. The allies, along with the Mir Kazim, they were defeated by the company forces at Buxar. It was one of the most decisive battles in Indian history. It made East India Company the real master of Bengal, Bihar and Odisha. Mir Jafar was reinstated. On his death, they placed his second son, Nizam ud Daula, on the throne. He was made to sign a new treaty, a new agreement on 20th February 1765. By this treaty, the Nawab was to disband most of his army and to administer Bengal. He has to disband his army and he is just to administer Bengal. So, Buxar confirmed the decisions of Plassey. The new Nawab, I am now talking the Nawab of Bengal. He was there, stooge, the Nawab of Oudh, a subordinate ally, okay, and the emperor there, a pensioner. So these Britishers, they gave the places to these Nawab. Okay, so the new Nawab of Bengal was their stooge. Stooge means a subordinate, which is used to by a subordinate used by another to do the unpleasant routine work. That is a stooge, a subordinate that is used by another to do some unpleasant routine work. The Nawab of Oudh, he was a subordinate ally. Subordinate ally, he was a friend of them. And the emperor, they made the pensioner. Okay, a person who receives a pension on their retirement. So never after the Buxar did the Nawab of Bengal or Oudh ever challenge the company. If the Battle of Plassey had made the English a powerful factor in politics of Bengal, the victory of Buxar made them a great power in northern India and a great competitor for supremacy, for ultimate power in the whole country. The Diwani rights. The right to collect Diwani means the land revenue in the provinces of Bengal, Bihar and Odisha. These were handed over to the Britishers by the Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II, who was still the titular head of the Mughal Empire. He was still the head of the Mughal Empire. What is the meaning of the word titular? Titular means holding or constituting a position without having the real authority. The power was not there with him, but still he was holding the position over there. Its hold over Bengal was legalized and the revenues of this rich province placed at its command. So when in return the East India Company they agreed that we will pay rupees 26 lakh annually to him and secured from him Diwani of Kara and Allahabad. These two places Diwani land revenue were secured from him. For 6 years the emperor resided in the fort of Allahabad as a virtual prisoner. Emperor was a prisoner of the company in the fort of Allahabad. The Nawab of Oudh, he was made to pay a war indemnity of 5 million rupees to the company. The Nawab of Oudh, he was made to pay how much rupees? See, he was made to pay 5 million rupees. 5 million rupee as a way of indemnity. What is the meaning of the word indemnity? As a security, as a protection against the loss, as a compensation. The two signed an alliance by which the company pay a war promise to support the Nawab from any outside attack, thus making them totally dependent on them. So that Nawab was totally dependent on East India Company for everything.